When first starting out in SolidWorks, the best thing to do is just start drawing parts. Even if you don't know what you're doing, just follow along and see if you can draw these parts. These are some ABS 3D printed bearings. And after we draw them, I'll show you how to create an STL file that you can use to run a 3D printer. Now, if I ever go too fast and you miss something, just go down and pause the video and figure out where you lost track of what we were doing, and then just rewind the video back and rewatch it. This way I can make the videos faster, and then you can just keep repeating items if you don't understand something. Just watch it again until you get it. So, as we showed in the first tutorial, you need to start SolidWorks first. Just click on the icon and it'll open. If you don't like this item over here on the side, just click anywhere in the gray area and it'll go away. Then go up to New, and then click on Part, and then click on OK. And now you're in the area to start drawing a part. Pick a plane to start out with. We're going to use the top plane. Click on it. Click on Sketch. And then click on the big sketch button. Now we're ready to create a sketch on the top plane. Let's put a circle there. We'll go to the origin and we'll pull out. We have a circle. Now we'll click on Smart Dimension and we'll give that a dimension. Even if you don't know the exact dimension, just pick something close. So we'll pick, let's go with 17 millimeters. Now we know these have a hole in the center, so let's draw that hole. You don't have to draw it now, but we'll go ahead and draw it now. And then give that a dimension. And we'll give that 8 point, or just 8. At the sketch, and then make sure it's highlighted. Go to Features, click Extrude, and it just made the 3D part. Now we need to know what height. So if we want to, we can make this 39 millimeters tall. Click on the green arrow, and it's done. And you've created that first taller ABS bearing. Now if you're wondering how I'm moving that around, I'm using this little round roller button. To move it in and out, I roll it down or up. And to twist it, I push it down and hold it down, and then I move the little mouse wheel. So that's how I'm moving this stuff around on the screen. So we're going to get out of this, and we're not going to save it, because we're going to do it again. We're going to do it just a little different way, because you can do the same part many different ways. And that's the great thing about SolidWorks, is you're not stuck on one way. So if you're getting the part done, then you're not doing it wrong. So once again, we started a sketch. This time we forgot to click on the plane, so it told us to pick one. We did. Once again, we picked the circle. Draw the circle. We dimension it. You can dimension it in different ways. This time, little arrows off to the side. We'll do the center hole again. We'll make it 9 millimeters, 9.5 this time. We exit the sketch. Now, if for some reason that's not highlighted, just click on it and highlight it blue. Go up to Features. Once again, we'll do that again to show you. Click on the Extruded Boss Base. And you've made the part. And now you just need to pick the height. And I'm making these heights different each time so you know they're not set. I know it is 37 millimeters, so that's the one we're going to use. So once again, we did the same part. We did it a little different, no big deal. Ended up with the same thing. And that's all that counts. So once again, we're not going to save it. We're going to go up here. We're going to draw it again. Click on Part. Click on OK. Now we're ready to draw it again. This time we're going to do it. We're going to click on the sketch, and we could pick that, but instead we're going to start out on the Extruded Boss Base, and then we're going to pick Plane. So you don't have to start out with a sketch. You can go jump up there right away and click on the Extruded Boss Base, and it'll automatically start the item. If it doesn't make sense, no big deal. Just keep trying it. Watch the video over and over again. The purpose is I'm trying to show you that there's no set way that you have to do this. As long as you're getting the part, it's fine. The key is that you want to create a sketch and then extrude it. This time we didn't put a hole in the center because we're going to do it a different way. So we just created a kind of a little puck shape there. If we click on the top, that's going to be the plane we're going to use. We're not going to use these tops or rights. We're going to click on the top of it, and we're telling it that's where we want to start our sketch. So now our sketch will start on the top of there. If we click Normal To, it's going to kind of make that face us and easier to work with. If you don't like the blue there, just click out on the side somewhere, it'll go away. Now we're going to draw the circle for the inner cut hole. And we'll make it 9. And I just pressed enter there instead of pressing the green arrow. Either way it works. Now it's 9.5. And what we're going to do is now we're going to cut through that. So we're going to highlight the sketch, go to Features, but this time we're going to go to Extruded Cut because we want to cut that feature. Now if you look over here, it says blind. That means it's just going to go down however far you tell it. So we could tell it just go down 4 millimeters and it's not going to go all the way through. But it'll go down 4 millimeters. So you might have some cuts you need to do that way. Now if we don't like it, we could change it or we could just delete it and it'll leave our sketch there. So we don't have to redraw our sketch. We just highlight it again. Click on Extruded Cut. Only this time, instead of 4 millimeters, we're going to tell it to go through all. So it's going to go all the way through, like you drilled it. It gives you a little preview. Click on the green arrow, and it's gone all the way through. Now that's not the right height, so we need to go back and change the height from there, from the bottom to the top. So let's go back, right click, go up to Edit Feature, click on that, and then just change the height. If my directions irritate you, just turn off the audio and just watch, because that's all you need to do. When I first started out, I thought there had to be perfect, exact, specific ways like writing code, but it's not. You just go, click on the icon, you start SolidWorks. Now you're in SolidWorks. You go up to New, click on New, Part, click on OK. Now you're in the area. Click on a plane. Click on either Extrude or Sketch. Either way will work. Draw your circle. Dimension it. If you wish, at this point you can draw the inner cut. circle, dimension it. Make the height of the part. Click the green arrow or press enter. And there you have it. It's that fast. Right now, you see it's saving it as a SolidWorks part. So we're going to call it 3D printed bearing. So we're saving it as a SolidWorks part, 3D printed bearing number 1. Now we're going to save it as an STL. We save it as a part first, and then you go back and save it as the STL. Remember, an STL file is which. Now, whenever I make, and you can see there's the settings for the STL. I don't even change them. I just leave what's there. Whenever I do an STL, I like to type STL in front of the part name. It helps me later find my parts that are STLs faster. And you click OK, and it tells you it's made some information there. It tells you where it's at. Just hit yes. Now, you're still looking at a SolidWorks part there. All it did was save an STL into the computer. If we want to see that STL, we need to go down here and click and find. There's the part. So there's the SolidWorks part. Now if we want to see the STL, we go to open. And we go, well, let's go all files. There. See where I typed in STL. Makes it easier to find. So we open that. It's going to ask you if you want to run some diagnostics. Click OK. There's no faulty faces or gaps, so that's going to print just fine on the 3D printer. Click the green arrow. Now you don't need to save this because it's already saved. I usually just hit don't save because it's already saved. Like I said, we're going fast. Doesn't matter. We're just making parts. So we open that same part. And there it is. That's the SolidWorks part. Now if we want to, we can make that other bearing from this bearing. The little tiny white one we showed earlier. So all we do is just open it up, right click, go to the sketch. Now we can change the dimensions. So we just click on them or double click on them and it'll let you change them. So if we go down here and I double click on that, it'll let me change that. When you get done changing it, just click on the green arrow or click enter. So all we did was change the dimensions. We exit the sketch. And now those dimensions on the diameters are different. Now we need to change the height. So we right click, then go to edit feature, click on it. Change the height. And there you go. And that's it. Now we've made the smaller bearing. So you don't have to redraw the part every time. You can use the existing part and just change the dimensions. Once again, now we're going to save it as a part. So we're just going to change. And now it's number 2 bearing. Now we're going to save that as an STL. Once we're going to type STL in front of it. You don't have to, just kind of helps you find them later. A lot of times your STLs and your SolidWorks part names will be the same. If you type that little STL in front, it makes it easier to find. Right now we're just looking at SolidWorks parts. And now we're looking at 3D printed STL parts. There's no problems. Click the green arrow. Once again, you don't have to save it. It's already been saved. Now, let's say we wanted to draw a part that's going to fit in those holes up there on the top of this toy. We don't know what the dimensions are yet. We kind of know what they are, but that's okay. We can even draw the part now and then later change the dimensions. It's a great thing about SolidWorks. Everything doesn't have to be done and perfect. First one, clicked on part, clicked on click on the top plane, click on extruded boss base. Automatically gives us a sketch. Now we're going to go to the center rectangle. We're just going to pull out from the center a square or rectangle. I clicked off on the side and I hit escape. If I click on that, hold down the control key, click on the other arrow, I can go down there and click equal. And what it's done is it made it so all the sides are equal. Turned it into a square. So then I have to do is just dimension one side. I tape these ahead of time, then I put audio on them. So sometimes I don't know what's coming up next. So anyway, now each side is 40 millimeters. Now I've noticed, let's put this at 7 millimeters tall. Click on it, like, I don't think so. I think that's a little too thick. So right click, go up to edit feature, click on it again. No big deal, just change it to 5 millimeters. Now we click on that top area there. Or it could be on any area, but we want to go on the top area. We're going to click on that and tell it that that's where we want to draw our next extrusion. So we click on it, we click on sketch, normal to. There's so many different ways you can do the same thing. Just try it. One of them's going to work. So we go ahead and dimension that. As you can see, it's right there on that top part of the part. Make sure the sketch is highlighted. Go to features, go to extruded boss base, click on it, and it'll start coming up. Now, if you want to, you can grab that arrow and pull it up to whatever dimension you want it to be. We could set it at 40. As you see down there, it made it 40. Click the green arrow, and there you go. So now, if we want to, we can look at the top view.
We can click there and go normal too, and see the same view. Highlighted that, so when we click on that cut, it's cut from that area. Now what we're going to do is we're going to draw another rectangle square, but we're going to click down here where it says construction. That's going to create dotted lines there, guidelines. So those aren't going to do anything other than just be guidelines. What happens is then we can draw little circles on there. The video is kind of jumping ahead here, but you can see what's happening. I'm holding down the control key and I'm clicking on all of them to highlight them blue, and then I can go hit equal. As you can see, when I go down here, I can click equal and they all become the same size. Now I usually draw my circles bigger than they need to be, just because they're easier to click on then. Because then later I can size them like that, or I can just pick one and dimension it, and it'll dimension the rest. If you make them real small, you can't, it's hard to click it, hold the control key and click on them. So there we go. We made them 4 millimeters, but you can always just go back, double click on them again, and click 4.3. Now I didn't dimension those on purpose, just to show you that, let's say we didn't know that, but we could kind of draw the part visually what we wanted, but we don't know those true dimensions because they haven't given them to us yet. No big deal, just draw something that looks close. We want it to go all the way through, so we could click it that way, we could go all the way through, and then we've created those holes. Later we can come back. Now if you right click there, hit delete, it still leaves our sketch. Because what I'm going to show you is if you click on it, hit the cut again, we don't have to cut all the way through or do a blind depth. We can do a blind depth, and now we're kind of going to make our countersinks there. Then click in that area. That's where we're going to want the next cut to be. It'll be the same on all of these because they're the same depth. So if we click there, or here, it's the same. Then we cut from there. We'll be able to do our final holes. Now the point I was trying to get to before was that when we make the second cut, we could tell it to cut all the way through, or we can just tell it to cut up to the next surface, which would be the back side of this. You would think in most situations you just tell it to cut all the way through, and that's fine. Once again, it's a little easier if these are bigger, because then I can hold down the control key, click on all of them, highlight all of them, tell it to make them equal. That's an equal relation, it's called. And then I can dimension it, and it'll make them all that dimension. Anyway, back to the point of going all the way through or up to the next surface. We're just going to change that dimension. We could go all the way through there, and it's going to have the same effect as if we go up to the surface, from that surface all the way to this surface. There'll be times you want to do that where you don't want it to go all the way through. Otherwise, it would cut into a different part. So I'm just showing you many ways to do the same thing. Kind of rambling here, but let's put some nice fillets on those edges. And once again, I tape these ahead of time. Sometimes I get ahead of myself, or I don't know what's coming up. But the whole point of it is just to give you a video to watch. So we're just putting some fillets on there. Just click the green arrow. That's a fun little thing. Just play around with that. Click on the fillet thing and click some edges. You'll see what happens. Now if you click on that bottom arrow, you can get a chamfer. And that's just gonna, let's make it 2 millimeters at 45 degrees. And if we click up here, you can kind of see what it does. So those are some things you can play around with. So we made the part. We can save it. It's going to save it as a SolidWorks part. So we'll just call it extra part number 1. We saved it. So always save it as a SolidWorks part first, even if you're going to want to 3D print it, and then later. So we'll cut another hole in here. So we click on this bottom edge, or plane, and it created a sketch there, or a sketch plane. We can click on the bottom to see where we're going. Now this doesn't make a lot of sense now, but after doing this for a couple hours, or even a day or so, this is going to be simplistic to you. So we're just trying to show you stuff so you can see what it can do. So we're just making that hole 30 millimeters deep. So you can see what it did. It just created a hole inside that shaft. So we just save it. It's already named, so it's saved. Now we can go down and save it as an STL for 3D printing. If you type that little STL begin in the front, it's going to save you a lot of time finding files later. Once again, it tells you where it is, some information about it. Now we're back to the SolidWorks part. So we got out of that. So you can see, there it is right there. We click on it, it opens it up. Ask if you want to see the diagnostics. It's fine. It's going to print just fine. It says it's fine. That's it. Now, these holes are not dimensioned. No big deal. You might have to wait a couple days until they get those dimensions to you. No big deal. Just open up SolidWorks when you get them. Go find your part. Open it. Make sure you're opening up the SolidWorks part, not the STL. Find where that cut is for those holes. Now this one, we're going to click on it just because it is the wrong one, and you'll be able to tell that we based those holes off of the other holes. So let's go up here, click on it, right click, open it, and now normal 2 so we can see it, and we can dimension this. We hold down the control key, we clicked on both of them and hit equal. Now they're equal. Now maybe you don't want that, but for right now let's just dimension it that way. So now all
are going to be 30 millimeters apart. But maybe you don't want that. So just click on the line, one of the lines. You see that little equal there? Click on it. Click delete and it'll go away. And now you can dimension it whatever you want. Let's make it 30.5. And there. Now we have those holes dimensioned, what they need to be to fit on that toy. And there, it's all done. Save the SolidWorks part. It already has a name, so you can just hit save. Hit save as. Go to STL. Find the thing. Click on it. Now it's just going to save over the top of it the new way. And that's all done. Now all you got to do is send that STL to a 3D printer and print it. Alright, that's the end of this video. Try some of that stuff out, just see what you come up with.